Hey guys, it's Caden with Team CLB, and today I'm going to be bringing you um, our tournament report from the CCS 3v3 Colosseum. The link to that Discord will be in the description, along with the links for the three of our deck profiles. I'm going to do these in three separate videos. Also, sorry if it's a little shaky, I'm not in my usual setup today. I'm visiting my mom, so I'm in my room there. So we played Phantom Knights, as you can see on the screen right now. We played this was piloted by me. My friend Astrid was our player B, and she played Dragon Link. And my friend Nathan was our player C, and he played Dogmatica Invoked Eldritch DPE. So yeah, we'll have those three videos up separately. We went 2 and 2 before we dropped. We probably could have done better, but we were all tired because we had to wake up earlier than we wanted to, and it was just a whole mess. So yeah, let's just figured I'd put up the report of how we did. Yes, I'm using the stream overlay, but you know, I'm lazy. So to start, I chose to play a very different list of Phantom Knights. I had a lot of individual personal choices I felt about the deck that led to what I was doing. So to start out, I played the Scythe package. Obviously, I think it's really good going for an extra deck lock game 1. Game 2, sometimes if you lose the dice roll, it stays in. If you win the dice roll and but you lose game 1, it still stays in. But you win game 1, it still stays in sometimes. So this was really, really helpful. There was only 2 matches that came up, I think, and one of them was kind of non-important. I played 3 Ash because level 3 hand trap, worst case scenario, you could normal summon Kagemucha Knight and still do things with it. I played 1 of each of the dangers, and honestly, I kinda wish I hadn't played Jackalope. Jackalope never really came up, though Tsuchinoko came up a lot. I think I used Jackalope maybe 1 time, and it wound up discarding a droplet because I had double droplet, so I wasn't too worried about it, but it was just kinda lackluster all day. Tsuchinoko was great. I used it as a discard off of Torn Scales a lot. And then the one time it did resolve its draw, it was to get rid of the second Silent Boots that I had opened. Then I played the 2 hero monsters for the Fusion Destiny package. I drew Dasher like way more than I'd like to admit for having only played 4 matches. But it was what it was. I played 3 Ghost Ogre. I felt like this hand trap was phenomenal, and it honestly kind of won me one of my matches. By the way, I'll have the deck profile here, and then we're going to go through replays of each match. But yeah, this card just straight up like MVP hand trap of the day, like of all of them. Played 3 Kagemucha Knight. Um, I sided 1 out most games. There was 1 game I sided out 2 of them. But that's just because I needed to side in like 8, so I was struggling to find space a little bit. I played the 1 Psychic Wielder just as another E-Telly target, because there were a couple times, like I knew there were going to be times when I had the E-Telly, but I didn't want to summon the Ghost Ogre from deck, so I just ran the 1 other target for it. I played 2 Ancient Cloak. I did side 1 of this out occasionally. I definitely think 2 is good, because it means that if your Levier doesn't resolve, you're not completely out of follow-up. But it never actually came up, the needing the second one. I played 1 gloves because it's fairly standard. I used it a lot. I think almost every game. I used its graveyard effect because I got hand trapped and it helped me play through it, or because I needed the extension to get kill in the battle phase and things like that. I played 3 Silent Boots, obviously, because that's what you do. Um, I opened double and triple Silent Boots more times than I'd like to admit as well. Or not open, but drew throughout the game, I mean. I think there was 1 game I opened double. I played the 1 Stained Greaves. Honestly, this card turned Brick Hands into combo a lot. It was phenomenal. I wouldn't run more than 1, but the 1 was perfect. 3 Torn Scales. I really hope this card doesn't get hit on the ban list, because if it does, then this deck's kind of dead, but I felt like this was a phenomenal card. I normal summoned it a lot to get to combo, though you don't necessarily have to use its effect when it's normal summoned. You can use it later in the combo. once you get more cards in hand for it. The 2 E-Telly obviously was for the Wielder and the Ghost Ogres, just to get another level 3 without the normal summon. Foolish was never really an important extender. I think I used it once to get to combo, and I think it was a time when I misplayed and wound up missing the combo anyway, because my opponent had hand traps that I didn't have a way to play through with the way I played. 3 Droplet, I chose to play these instead of like Dark Ruler or Chalice because like you could discard things like Fogblade Wings and your PK monsters to get effects there, and it was usually enough to, if not win the game, to stall out long enough for me to get to what I needed to win the game. Fusion Destiny, I don't know what to say about this card. I love it. I hate it. It's one of those things. I loved when I saw it in my opening hand, but there were 4 times I think where I drew it like after the DPE and pieces were already used, so it was a dead draw a few times, and like I want to play less of it, but at the same time, like I want to open it as often as I can. So it's a double-edged sword to a degree. One Rhoda, just because all the PKs are warriors, and it also searches Kagemucha as an extender. I played 3 Fogblade. I don't think I ever set more than 2 of them. The third one was almost always in the grave for a Monster Reborn. 1 Wings. I loved this card. I never used it on field. I always either discarded it for Torn Scales or sent it off Torn Scales or Gloves. But its Monster Reborn effect was also handy basically every time. And then the 1 Brigandine, I used this as an extender to get to the combo, I think 4 times throughout my 4 matches. And I never saw a point in siding Imperm because then I'd have to side this out, and I just didn't trust myself to know how to do the combo without it, especially considering I made the choice not to play the Burning Abyss monsters, partially because I feel like Graph is a very, very good Ash target, and I wanted to try and play around it as much as I could, but also because I open one of the 2 BA pieces almost all the time, so I would open either Graph or Seer like 90% of the time that I would be playing, and I didn't want to run the Libic to have to worry about that because then it became 3 bricks and not 2. So for the side deck, I went with 3 Lancia for the mirror match, for Sword Soul, for and the Eldritch decks invoked. It was just a great card. It went in a few times. I don't remember if I ever saw it when I needed to. I know there was one game, if I'd kept it in hand, I probably wouldn't have lost, but I set it because I didn't want Jackalope to discard it because I wasn't paying attention to combo. Um, Pankratops, I literally never cited in. This could have been anything else, and I think it would have been better. Um, so yeah, don't play this unless you know you're gonna use it. Droll, I didn't play against any really hard drollable matchups. I didn't play against like Sword Soul, or I did play against Birds, and I do believe it went in against Birds. I just didn't see it. I got beat pretty hard in that matchup. So the spice card though for the deck was definitely the Artifact Ignition. I sided this in a lot. I like every time there was a deck that played back row, this went in. It even went in against Sword Soul, because a thing you can do with it is if you have like the Fog Blade on your field and you also have your Ignition. Worst case scenario, you don't need to make the Dagda, but you could go set Ignition and set Fogblade. If the Sword Soul player normal summon Moe and use its effect or anything like that, you could activate Fogblade to negate it. And then in a new chain, or later down the line even, you could activate DPE and then chain the Ignition to destroy your Fogblade. So now Fogblade is live for a Monster Reborn, and then set the Scythe from deck, and DPE can then resolve popping the Scythe since it doesn't target, and then your Scythe would obviously summon and lock them out of the extra deck. And then I played more back row hate because I don't like back row matchups, so I played 3 Lightning Storm, 1 Harpies, 1 Reboot. I did play against a back row deck first round, but it wasn't too bad. And then for the extra deck, I played fairly standard. I played 1 DPE because, you know, Fusion Destinies, Scythe, pieces. 1 Zeus. There was one match where I actually misplayed because I had Zeus and DPE on the field. And I should have activated DPE a chain earlier than I did. Like, because I was against a Virtual World Sword Soul. I still won the game, but I definitely made it a lot harder because I activated DPE knowing that they had the Chuche, and it just got bad. One Downer to give Zeus extra materials. Levier gave a lot of materials. I think that I would play a second Levier in the future over a second Breaksword. The second Breaksword never came up. I only ever actually summoned Breaksword like 2 or 3 times, and most of the time it was the first copy when going second. Access code was great, would have been great anyway if I'd ever gotten to summon it. I never got into a situation where I needed it to kill someone, but there was one situation that you'll see round 2. I would have used it to kill my opponent if I hadn't gotten unlucky. Excuse me. Then we've got one Appaloosa. I think I summoned this like once or twice, but it never really mattered too much. It was just like extra protection. Um, it doesn't come up in the normal combo as much as it does if you play the tour guide engine and stuff, but it's there for usually if you have the extenders to make IP as well, so you can make a 2-negate Appaloosa with IP in the Verite you leave over. Then I played one Dagda, obviously, for the artifact combo. I think it resolved every time, which was nice. I played one Cherubini, because there's not a point in running 2. There wasn't a lot to do with it other than just send a piece, usually Ancient Cloak or Torn Scales, depending on how your opening hand was. There were sometimes I didn't, like, there were a couple games where I bricked bad enough I just wasn't able to summon it, but that was extraneous circumstances. I played one IP. I think I summoned this like 3 times. It was amazing. I even summoned it going second one time just to make it so that way a card couldn't be destroyed by card effects. One Unicorn. This came up, I think, twice, and one time it effectively helped me win the game. It was round 1 as well. One Link Spider for Nib or for Brigandine if you didn't use the Brigandine to summon Dagda. One Verte for the DPE if you don't open the Fusion Destiny, and then one Bardiche. Overall, like I said, I think hindsight, I would cut the Pank for something else, and I would probably cut the Jackalope for something else as well. I'm not sure what, but like Jackalope was just bad all day, and I might change the Breaksword for either a second Levier or just another generic monster to be able to play. Because like I said, only the one ever came up. I might put a rank 4 in instead, like maybe Redoer or Evil Swarm Nightmare or something like that. Because it does increase the levels by 1, so the 2 that you bring back you aren't going to be able to make a Levier or second Breaksword with or anything. So that's the deck. Moving on to replays, we've got my round 1. I was against Andrew, who was on Earth Machine. So, yeah, we were talking about tournaments and stuff. We had a lot of time before the tournament started, and then here we are. We win the dice roll, rock, paper, scissors, whatever. Choose to go first, and we don't realize until it's too late that we are playing against a trap deck, so we just do the standard line. I go normal summon Torn Scale, summon Kagamucha Knight. Make Cherubini. Cherubini here dumps the Ancient Cloak. This is one of 2 situations where it could have come up, though also if I didn't run 2, I could have sent the Stained Greaves and banished Stained Greaves to summon Ancient Cloak as well. So I used it, I searched, I believe Silent Boots here, yeah, and then Torn Scales Engrave comes back. Sorry chat if the camera's getting a little shaky, trying to wake my dog up. And yeah, so we brought back Torn Scales. Here, I'm gonna actually click like this, it's probably a little quieter. Torn Scales, I think I discarded gloves here. Yeah, discard, or send gloves, sorry. Summon Boots, I do believe I made Bardiche with Boots and Cherubini, yep. I think I used Bardiche next, and I sent Greaves to set Brigandine, I think. Yeah, to set Brigandine. Activated Brigandine. This was mostly so that way I could do Levier lines, because I dumped the I used gloves to dump the wings, and use wings to bring it back. The Greaves, and then overlay into Levier, summon, Ancient Cloak. This is fairly standard still. Hold on, chat. Kieran, wake up. I'll show you guys my dog in a little bit. Okay, he's just asleep. So yeah, we got to the full combo, which was nice. I honestly did not think I'd be getting there um, at all in the tournament. I was expecting to get hand trapped like 90% of the time. So here we go, Cloak, Chain, Dagda, set Scythe, and then link into Verte, summon DPE. This was arguably my weirdest matchup of the day. My round 2 matchup was also pretty weird, all things considered. I added the Fogblade here with boots and then set 2 and passed. We approached game 3 a lot differently here just because of we knew what we were playing against. He activated extra if he drew Imperm, which sucked for us because that meant he negated DPE at some point. End phase we DPE'd. Oh no, actually I think we hit the Imperm. Yeah, we hit the Imperm. So we DPE here, and then Scythe destroys itself because of Dagda, and then brings itself back just to have a body on board. They ask about that because they were confused with both DPE and Scythe having dying. So here there was a little miscommunication, but it's okay. We got it all sorted out. We're just bringing back the DPE, and they were doing it there. They strike the DPE, which I don't think was correct. Because either way they were losing a card, and that just cost them 1,500 life points when potentially they could have kept the strike and then use strike on the graveyard effective DPE to prevent it coming back later. So here I Ancient Cloak, I added boots, and then I activated Torn Scales to summon itself. Yeah. I used it, discarded Ogre, because Ogre isn't going to come up against the trap deck, because at this point I still thought he was on something like Altergeist or Eldritch. I used Fogblade to bring back Bardiche, and walked right into a Paleo Dynamishcus, which I used to banish the Bardiche, but that was fine, because at this point I could make Break Sword, and then just attempt to pop the last back row in this. It was Urgent Schedule, which I am lucky he chained. He could have let it die and just add a level 10, but I did have the Ash for it, so him chaining it meant it wouldn't float. So then Celestial draws 2, and I believe we just went to the next game. Yeah, see here I drew a Dead Fusion Destiny. This happens a lot, you'll notice. So yeah, I just made Zeus here. Didn't bother using Downward because I'd already detached one from Break Sword, so I get the DPE back, and we go to the next game. The next game, this is a little rough. See, we open Ignition, Lancia, Ash, and then 2. We Lancia him out the gate so that way he can't extrav, because I'm also still under the impression he's on like the Eldritch version of Machina, because sometimes the Dark build does play it. I've seen a lot of people play it recently. So I did this, I shotgunned, I hit the wrong one, I needed to hit the Judgment. If I'd hit Judgment, I still potentially could have done stuff here, but I missed the Judgment. And so we wind up losing pretty hard just to the normal summon. So here in end phase, he activates Overdrive, targets Gear Frame to summon the Citadel from Decken. I know we just can't kill that, so we go to the next one. Because all he needs is a monster to kill us. He normal summons Scrap Recycler, and that's basically enough already, because he just dumps one, and then... Yep. Yeah, because Scrap Recycler is full combo in that deck, basically. So we go to game 3. In game 3, I approach a lot differently since I know he's on a trap deck now. This is one of those hands you'll see where Danger Tsuchinoko was amazing as a discard, but Jackalope a lot of times just wasn't available when I needed to be able to discard. So here we then send Cloak, and then Cloak searches. I don't know how DB Grinder does all this clicking all the time. It's very tiring on the finger. So we banish Cloak, add Boots, summon Torn Scale. I think I almost actually misplayed here. I was thinking about it, and I almost discarded the Boots, and then I remembered Tsuchinoko could bring itself back. So I just brought back Tsuchinoko. I accidentally added it to hand, but it was a misclick. I meant to click Declare. He gives us a thumbs up, so we summon it. I was expecting a Nib, so I don't know why I didn't play around it, but I'm glad I didn't in hindsight. We dump Gloves here and set Fogblade. And then we make Levier. Levier bring back Ancient Cloak, and this is the point when I realize I don't need to make Dagda because he doesn't summon from the extra deck very often. So instead of doing that, I actually decide to go for a line that instead ends up with as much back row removal on his turn as I can. So I try and get to as good of a board as I can in this situation. I Ancient Cloak to give Bardiche the extra 800. I summon Brigandine, and here I make IP, I think. No, I make Link Spider and then Verte. So I overlay into Breaksword here. I use Bardiche to pop Breaksword. So since I have the gloves that's going to be engraved, I can gloves. So here we bring back 2, we link into IP. Yep, and then we Verte, we summon DPE, and we have Breaksword engrave, and then gloves dumps Fogblade. As you can see, we do that here. So that means we have, in terms of just things that we can do to remove back row on the next turn, we have IP into Unicorn, we have a DPE, and we have Fogblade bring back Breaksword to Bardiche Zone to pop. So here we have a little issue. I accidentally misclick here. He gets Fogbladed. He goes to grab his something from the door real quick, comes back, accidentally sends the Gear Frame to grave, but it's not that big a deal. It just needs to summon it again. So he goes to pass. So we're still in the main phase. We activate IP. We shuffle. We summon Unicorn, discard Torn Scale, shuffle back the center set, which happened to be the Lancia. It didn't really matter though, because I wouldn't have set Lancia personally, but that's fine. Still, it didn't matter. End phase, we go DPE, pop itself, and one set, activate the DPE effect, and then on resolution, we activate Fogblade, bringing back the Xyz using Bardiche effect since the Dark Xyz was summoned to its zone to pop his last back row, and here he concedes. And so we go into the tournament 1-0 after round 1. I won my game and Astrid won her game. Nate did lose his game, but he was playing against Sword Soul Tenyis, and they just opened insanely in game 3, so I can't even blame him for it. Next up, we have round 2, and we get paired against Owen Wilson. And my first thought was, oh shit, this is gonna suck. See, you can. Astrid told me I was playing Owen Wilson, and my response was, oh shit, bad matchup. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world to see. So we look at our opening hands. They have Kiss a Kill Frost, a Little Treat, Scythe, and Sunny Snitch. And I open a fairly good hand for going second, especially against this deck. I do wind up making a mistake, though. And it was one of those random chance mistakes. I didn't know he was running Scythe at the time. So we let him do his whole combo. He gets the draw, and he gets the... Oh, yeah, and DP was lagging the whole day. And like here you can see he was lagging and I was too, and then he even says afterwards it was for his whole team and it was for mine as well. So it was just dueling book because today there was the Emanon tournament, the DCS, and the CCS, so there were just a lot of people playing on dueling book today. So here he gets the draw, Sunny Snitch, which actually hurts really, really badly here, and then he just turns all 3 of these into Sunny Snitch. Or sorry, Trouble Sunny. This is some Sunny Snitch. He summons Trouble Sunny, which is a massive interruption for us. Like, it's just not something that's easy to deal with. Hold on, there we go. So he passes. We draw Greaves for turn. We summon Greaves here. We activate Kagemucha to get a 3. He lets that resolve. We do take some damage throughout this turn, as you'll see. On summon, he activates Trouble Sunny, which is perfectly fine by us because we can go droplet in response. We could have actually dropleted for 1 here because I do believe I droplet for 2. Yeah, we didn't need to discard the silent boots. We could have just gone for 1, let him get the draw, and negated the Lilla, because as you can see later, we do wind up adding a card. We make Cherubini here, I believe, and then Cherubini dumps Ancient Cloak. And the reason we dump Ancient Cloak is because, oh no, I guess we did go for Torn Skills. We go Silent Boots, add, wait, I could have gone for Ancient Cloak there, but I think the reason I didn't was because that would just be wasting a resource at that point. So we go for Brigandine, activate Brigandine. Oh no, I did, okay, so I did the same line, I just did it in a different order. So the way I would have done it, or the way I was talking about doing it, put the Bardiche on field after it put the Torn Scales back on field. So I go Bardiche effect, that resolves, so I send Ancient Cloak here, set Fog Blade. Then I Ancient Cloak to add, I believe I go for Gloves. Yeah, I go for Gloves. I activate Torn Scales, summon Torn Scales. He also activates the effect to draw here. And as we can see, we could have just let him draw off the Kiss a Kill. But, you know, hindsight, he draws the Imperm, which didn't matter at this point. We summon the Torn Scale. We get the wings engraved. We activate the wings. We summon a level 3. We overlay into Break Sword. Yeah. So we're just doing this to get to the life points we need to be at. We overlay into Break Sword, and we target the Scythe. If we had targeted the Life Twin home, we would have been okay because we could still OTK through one more monster because we could have activated we could have popped this, activated Break Sword, destroying itself, and another, destroying itself and one of these two. Actually no, and this. We would have destroyed the Sunny Snitch. Bringing back 2, and then just comboing into Access Code plus Fusion Destiny plus Buster for game with the Fogblade monster reborn of the Break Sword because we could have DPE popped Fogblade and itself, and then that would have just been enough for lethal, but I didn't see it, so he popped the Scythe, we pop the Scythe, he activates it, and we think for a few minutes on if we have anything we can do here, and we know that he just has game, so we concede. And then game 2, we go first. And I do believe this is the match where I misplayed. So what I needed to do was I needed to also special summon the Psychic Wielder here, but I chose not to because I was thinking that I could get to the Torn Scales later in the combo. But looking at his hand, it didn't matter. He had insane opener. So what I should have done was still special summon the Wielder, because here we get Lanciad and Ashed. So we set 1, he goes to battle phase, we get even lead, we get rid of the Cherubini, because I want something to keep him from playing, but it didn't matter because he goes Lilla. We Fogblade it, and he activates Secret Password to get Sunny Snitch, and Sunny Snitch adds a monster. So at this point, we're basically just lost, so we look at our next card, it's Kagemucha Knight, we don't have combo, and we concede. So we lost this round. Nathan, however, all 3 of us got paired against a good player. I got paired against Owen Wilson. Astrid was against Matthew Price, and Nathan was against Stephen Roberts. Nathan actually won his match 2-0. Salomon Great versus Eldritch. Again, you'll see that in the 3rd video because he was our player C. I'm just going down the order. I was player A, Astrid was player B, and Nathan was player C. So that'll be up as well in a little bit. Probably a few hours after this one because I don't know how long it's going to take for these all to upload. But yeah, we all got paired against a pro, so it just be like that sometimes. It was still a good match on all 3, I think. Game 1, I probably would have had it, but hit the Scythe unluckily. I think we actually talked about it here afterwards. Yeah, because I asked what the other set was. And yeah, he was like, I had to kill it. And I was like, yeah, I had lethal. And he was like, good luck. We wish each other luck for the rest of the tournament. When we go to round 3, we are playing against Julian Strassel, and I do believe we lost this dice roll, I think. Oh, no, we won this dice roll, I'm pretty sure. We were talking about the different tournaments we played in, like PPG, LCS, all that good stuff. And, like, basically every PPG I've played in, I topped, but they're all from, like, a year and a half, maybe even 2 years ago now. And I only topped because I played like random decks. So I look at my hand here, and I'm like, okay, so I want to keep as much interaction as possible. So what I chose to do was normal Kagemucha to summon Kagemucha, and then go like minimum effort, summon Verte, dump DPE, hope I don't get, or dump to summon DPE, hope I don't get interrupted, and then I'd have 4 interactions being DPE, Ogre, Ash, Droplet. That is exactly what we do. And we actually make a fairly early mistake because he activates Kowloon, and I ash it, not thinking about the fact that if he activated something to target Kowloon, I could chain the DPE to it. So that was my mistake. So he does wind up getting the draw off of Desires here, and that was basically enough for him to win, or not win, but to get like further into the game. So he gets the imperm, which is what sucks about it. He imperms the DPE. Normal summons GG, activates it, activates Lily, and I start thinking I'm gonna lose like immediately. He only dumped one here. I actually think he probably could have had game if he had chose to dump two, like even through the droplet ogre. So he adds Lulu here, I believe. No, he adds Lao Lao, and that's actually a big mistake too because of what he chooses. He does discard the second Kowloon, and then off of Lao Lao, he sends the third one. So we do know he's out of Kowloons for the rest of the game, and it's at this point I started to suspect he was on the virtual world, or the Sword Soul build of Virtual World. Lo and behold, I was correct. He makes this here, and then he goes to battle phase, attacks into the DPE. I didn't want it to get banished, so I droplet sent the Ogre, because I can't send Verte, because Shen Shen effect. So I sent Ogre, he took damage, we took damage, and then DPE dies in end phase, we bring it back. In standby, we draw Wielder for turn, which isn't great, but it's something. We normal summon it so that way we can activate Celestial to draw. That resolves, and I think we do. Yeah, we draw Jackalope here, and that was just like it gets discarded thankfully because this Ghost Ogre comes in clutch. So here I think we just make Break Sword. Yeah. I go to battle phase. I activate DPE. I actually misclick here. I forgot I'd already clicked the attack button on this, so I wasn't thinking about it, and I clicked this to show that that's what I wanted to pop with DPE and attacked it. Made that clarification in chat because I declared DPE and DPE's effect, and then I attack over this. He actually was only in a bad spot because I didn't have a way to deal with the Chuche right here. So I could have, so I made Zeus. I could have Zeused here, actually, and I think it would have been a lot better than what it wound up being because I wound up losing access to DPE throughout this game, for the rest of this game. Because we went through, here, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. He did this, so here I activate, what happens is I activate DPE, he changed Chuche targeting it, so what would have happened is while the board would have been cleared and I'd have had DPE recursion, or like recurring itself, I would have lost my Zeus, because if this got popped, then I would not have Zeus to use, so I wound up chaining Zeus, which lost me my DPE access, but at the same time was fine, and the reason I didn't use Ogre on it was because he chose to apply its effect immediately, so it wasn't face up before it activated, if that makes sense. He activates Moyi, we Ogre it, and this is what I was referring to when I said that Ogre is, like, just straight up won me a match, because, like, this whole match this happened. Here, I think he goes, yeah, he just passes. We draw another Dead Fusion Destiny, that's twice in this tournament already. That's just happened, and I think it happens one or two more times as well. Yeah, here he Longyans summons a thing. I have no choice at this point but to Zeus effect, clear the board, which gets rid of our own Fog Blade. I actually had a way to lethal a couple turns earlier than what I did. He chooses to pass with a set, and here I actually had a line to game. I just didn't see it at the time. I didn't see it until the next turn. What I could do is normal summon Ghost Ogre, link 2 into IP, activate Fogblade, bringing back Break Sword, and then making Bardisha and going combo with that. I could have sent Ancient Cloak to set Brigandine, activated Ancient Cloak to add Tornscale, or not Tornscale, sorry. Actually, it might not have been game this turn. It was definitely game the next turn, though. So actually, I think it was good that I held it until I had another monster. Because we do Ghost Ogre the Tai here. We were lagging a bit, and I didn't type it, but he was nice enough to let it resolve. Anyway, I don't think he summoned the we drew another Fusion Destiny. That's 3 dead Fusion Destiny draws. Here he draws bad, sets Ash and passes. We draw Gloves, which was perfect. We just needed a PK name to OTK. That's what it was. So we made IP, and then we brought back Breaksword, made Bardiche, and I think he just conceded immediately here, because he just conceded here for game 1. Game 2, we got royally smacked. Game 2, so I'm just gonna fast forward through this because I opened no-go second cards and he opened the full combo. So Moyi, reveal Lily, make Chichao, add Emergence, and then draw. He drew Quinlong, which was insane. Here he makes the Baron. We take 12, activate Quinlong, Lao Lao, summon Yan Yan, summon back Lily, make Zolkin, and that's just a monster negate. So here, game 3, we go first, and I'm worried for this game because he opens 2 hand traps, which isn't good. So we go Cherubini effect, we dump Torn Scale, we activate Cloak, adding, I believe, Gloves, yep. Torn Scale effect summons itself. We activate Torn Scale, discarding Tsuchinoko, and this is what I meant. Like, I sided out the... So Tsuchinoko is better here because it doesn't lose to Ash, whereas Jackalope does. So I do believe he ashed... No, he didn't ash Torn Scales. So we go Tsuchinoko, summon itself, make Bardiche. I think he impermed my Bardiche, not ashed it. Oh no, he let Bardiche resolve. I don't remember what he ashed then. We Greaves bring out Gloves, overlaid into Leviair summoned out Ancient Cloak, and at this point, he was thinking, so if he had impermed here, we actually still could have ended on both Scythe and DPE, because if he had impermed this, we could go, search Brigandine, set Brigandine, activate Brigandine, make the Spider, make the Dagda, activate Gloves. Well, no, I guess we couldn't have, because he had the Ash as well, but like through just an imperm, we would have still been able to. Skull King here is Nathan. I think he had already lost at this point. Going through, and then we get to the line kind of. I think we get so far as the Dagda. But I think our Verte gets interrupted. Yeah, we make Dagda here. We activate Cloak. We activate Dagda in response. We set the Scythe from deck. Yeah. And then we try and make DPE. He imperms us after cost. And so we're in a... But thankfully his hand is not good. Especially not to play through Droplet Ash Fogblade, which is basically imperm, I guess. But worse. So, we just set Droplet Pass here. And he draws Lulu. He normal summons Gigi, activates Lulu targeting the Gigi. We chain Ash, and he concedes. So that was round 3. So we go up 2-1 in this after this match. Me and Astrid both won our matches. Nathan did not. We go to round 4, and we're up against Ephraim Kulio. Game 1, I think I get 2-0 here. Game 1, we go first. I'm just going to speed through this one because it wasn't that exciting. I draw pretty bad. I had to Tsuchinoko, discard a Droplet, sadly, but I had 2, so it didn't matter too much. I summoned it, drew the card, drew Dasher, which sucked. Activated Cloak. Activated Boot, sorry. Search this, made Bardiche, and then he impermed my Bardiche, so I didn't get to the Tornscale access, so I searched Tornscale as a follow-up. And then he normal summon Kit, sent Nerval, added Karis pitched Wagtail, Karis summoned Double Dragon Lords. I tried to Fogblade it, and he chained Droplet, which was just enough to break our board. Here he bounced the Bardiche, we pass back to him. He normals Nerval, makes Farishit, we Ash the Bird Call, and then he goes to make some Morgan, we concede. Game 2, we open terribly. So here, this is what I was talking about. Foolish just wasn't that great. So, Foolish has this thing right here where I get to add Tornscale, but I normal summon Tornscale, and I activate thing, get Gamma, and I cry. And this is also the game when I said I shouldn't have set Lancia because I thought I was going to activate the danger effect, which is why I set all of these. But then I realized afterwards that if I had kept the Lancia in hand, I probably could have, maybe not won, but I definitely could have survived this game. So continuing through, we go. He summons Warbler. We Fogblade it. He activates Bird Call. Summons the Wagtail. Wagtail searches the second Bird Call, and from there it's just a hop, skip, and a jump because he dropped. It's our DPE. Our Lancia is dead because we weren't smart and we set it, and from there, well, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to game for him because he attacks over our Tsuchinoko. He makes Utopic Future Draco. No, he makes Zeus. He clears our board. Normal summons Nerval, and I think we just concede. Yeah, we just conceded here. So that was how our tournament went, or at least for me. Like I said, I'll be posting the other two later. But overall, I definitely think that there were a couple small changes I'd make to my deck, a couple plays I could optimize some more, and the like. But all in all, it was fun. It was worth the $20, I think, still. I get 3 videos worth out of it. You know, all's well that ends well. So I'm gonna end the recording here. Like I said, the link to the Colosseum and to our Twitch and the 3 deck profiles will be in the descriptions of each respective video. So this one will have the PK deck profile, and then the other 2 will be in those videos. So I will see you all later. Bye bye.